Andor Season 2 is over. I already did a spoiler-free review for the season back in April, but now that I can talk about spoilers and specifics, I want to revisit the season and kind of the entire series to talk about what made it so special and cross my fingers as hard as I can, hoping that Andor won't be the last of its kind. The shortest possible version of this review is that I think Season 2 and the entire series is incredible. It's easily my favorite Star Wars series. The writing, the acting, the directing, the production design, the sets, the costumes, the music, even the glup shittos of this series, the bit characters who are only in a handful of scenes, everyone involved feels like they're firing on all cylinders at all times. The third arc, specifically episodes 8 and 9, are two of the best Star Wars episodes I've ever seen, and the fourth arc did an excellent job at bringing so many characters and storylines full circle. My biggest criticism of Season 2 is simply that it was all so good, the structure left me wanting a lot more. I was disappointed we didn't get more of some characters. I was so sad Brasso died early, and B2EMO not being around broke my heart, although I'm glad we got to see him thriving on the farm at the end. I do feel like Bix was underutilized, I just wish she got more to do throughout the season. Same with Melshi and K2, I wanted to see more of them. That's all I can keep saying, is that every character and every storyline was so good, I wanted to see them all more. I think it's just the nature of having so much to get through in 12 episodes. There were also some events that I was bummed to have skipped over, especially in the final two arcs. When we make that jump to a fully functioning Yavin base, I wanted to see it being built up more. In Arc 4, after an entire season of showing a dysfunctional rebellion that needed a leader like Mon Mothma, we barely got to see her do anything. Andor has always been a series that let the audience connect some of the dots for themselves, and I am fine to do that again in Season 2. I don't think they left anything necessary to the story on the cutting room floor, but some of those dots were big leaps, and I just know that if this series had wound up being 5 full seasons like they initially planned, there were so many wonderful stories we could have seen. But I fully understand and respect Tony Gilroy and Diego Luna for not wanting to go that route. Also, if they had done a second season all taking place in 4BBY, I don't trust that Disney would have greenlit a third, fourth, and fifth season. This series has been expensive. It was greenlit when Disney Plus was just pumping out new shows. The first season didn't perform nearly as well as The Mandalorian, but was still renewed. Now that Disney is pulling back from its streaming projects and being a lot more budget conscious, I don't think Andor would have been given 5 full seasons. So getting a second season as good as this is kind of a miracle in itself. And even though there are scenes and arcs that I would have loved to see, I'm so impressed at how well they structured these 4 arcs. We got 3 arcs that felt distinct and built up to the Gorman Massacre and Mon Mothma's speech, which are 2 huge moments I think simply had to be shown. Not only that, but they found a way to make everything involving Gorman tie into the mystery of the Death Star, culminating in the 4th arc. That's fantastic storytelling. For someone who claims to not really care about Star Wars, Tony Gilroy certainly seems like he gets it, and even wants to honor the surrounding material as best he can. Getting mentions of the Tarkin Massacre was wild, and the bellhop story changed that event from a footnote in a sourcebook into something that feels all too real. I think Gilroy struck an excellent balance between giving Mon Mothma an incredible exit speech from the Senate, while also referencing the events of Star Wars Rebels. I know it's not perfect, and it caused some confusion for canon junkies, but I think things lined up well enough. Of course, if I'm bringing up stuff like that, I should mention that they changed K2's origin story from a pre-existing comic, but I like this version of the story more. I'll always have some feelings when a canon story is overwritten, but it's not like this was done flippantly. I spoke about that whole issue plenty in another video. But going back to how Gilroy just seems to get Star Wars, I loved how this season lined up with the values George Lucas literally spelled out for audiences in the Clone Wars. Themes of cooperation and truth and trust and the importance of those virtues, explorations of when and how to stand up and fight, but also presenting us with situations that don't have simple answers. The Gormans are put in a position where I absolutely think diplomacy had failed and the time for action had come, but any action at all played right into the Empire's hands. It was a no-win situation that was brought on because of a failure to uphold truth and trust within the Empire for years. I liked Andor taking some of the lessons of Star Wars and making them more difficult and more complex. I also applaud the team for not shying away from real-world events. Tony Gilroy has said Andor is meant to be timeless and it can speak to just about any time throughout history. Refugees and genocide and propaganda are, unfortunately, timeless ideas to explore. But I also think it's silly to deny the relevance of those ideas today. Andor as a series is a bit like Luthen Rail in the sense that it takes what Star Wars has been saying since 1977 and then shows you the very serious and very real consequences of fascism. I would not argue that Star Wars and its stormtroopers have ever been subtle, but Andor makes it nearly impossible to look away from what it has to say. I do think something that sets Andor apart is that complexity, targeting an older audience. From its creation, Star Wars has always been made for kids. George Lucas wanted it to be a morality tale, and as he puts it, he wanted to use those stories to teach 12-year-olds the lessons they would need in life. That's great, and honestly, I would argue that I still feel like I learn or relearn lessons from Star Wars all the time. The franchise has mostly been very accessible and relevant and enjoyable to adults, even if the target audience is primarily what I would consider to be the young adult age. That's great. I think it's good for Star Wars to continue to target and create new fans. Franchises should do that. But so many fans that grew up with Star Wars also crave stories that are primarily made for them too. I think Andor strikes a great balance of having more mature ideas and themes that are very much in line with what we expect from Star Wars without going off the deep end with over-the-top violence. I think of it kinda like Lego. It's of course a toy company, and I grew up building Lego sets. I will still happily build sets made for all ages, but they also offer UCS sets and black boxes that are clearly marketed at people my age that grew up with Lego, but now they want something a little more involved. I think it's good for Star Wars to have stories for all ages, from young Jedi adventures all the way up to Andor. Tony Gilroy has said that he doesn't think there will be another series like Andor ever again. And I don't think he's being pretentious. I think he means it came out at the perfect time for streaming, where Disney was more willing to take risks and throw money at Disney+. If Andor had been pitched even 1 year later, maybe it wouldn't have happened. I don't know. I am so grateful we got Andor at all, but I would urge Disney to see the value in this kind of series. Look, people know that I tend to at least enjoy just about every Star Wars thing I watch. I just love the universe. I like spending time there. I like X-Wings and lightsabers and Jedi and Sith and droids and weird, funny puppet aliens. Even my least favorite Star Wars things give me some stuff I still love. I will watch Young Jedi Adventures, which is in no way meant for me, but I still enjoy it. But it was so nice to have a series I feel was made specifically for Star Wars fans my age. I'm not someone who thinks Tony Gilroy should get full control of everything Star Wars from here on out, not that he even wants that. I don't want every Star Wars series to be like Andor, because I also think The Mandalorian and Skeleton Crew are great, and I have seriously missed having an ongoing animated series. The Bad Batch was so good, and I'm psyched for Maul Shadow Lord. Star Wars thrives on variety, but in my opinion, Andor was an exciting new kind of Star Wars story that we had never seen before. I don't need or want every series to be like Andor, but I would love it if something similar were kept in the rotation. Give us that Star Wars in a black box every few years. We'll see what happens. I don't have a lot of faith in the streaming model right now. The entire industry seems like it's a mess, so for now, I will just reiterate how grateful I am that we got to experience this series, that it was greenlit and produced and came out at seemingly the perfect time for it to mean something real and true and powerful. And while we wait and hope for something similar to come out in the future, I hope it encourages Star Wars fans to dig a little deeper. Watch The Clone Wars or The Bad Batch or Star Wars Rebels with fresh eyes, because even though they're animated and more accessible to a younger audience, they still explore the same themes. Andor isn't the only deep Star Wars series. They all have something to say. It's a franchise that can easily be enjoyed on the surface, it's fun and it can be escapist, but if you dig into what these storytellers have to say, I think you'll find a lot more than you might expect. I've been doing this channel for over 10 years now, and my own approach has changed quite a bit since I started. But yeah, Season 2 of Andor was awesome. The entire series was awesome. I'm gonna miss it, and I hope we see more like it in the future. Despite some of the criticisms I mentioned, I think the series is very nearly perfect. So let me know what you thought of Andor Season 2 in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on our socials, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.